So coming up to T1, we want to kind of drive in the center of the track, and not shifting up to 6th gear. We staying in 5th since it does go up to 265. Now our first braking point here is going to be the first billboard on the right hand side, and you want to also kind of try and engine brake the car. Now coming into T2 and T3, you really want to try and cut those corners as much as possible. T2 being in 2nd gear and T3 being in 3rd gear. So for this next braking marker, you kind of want to use the last beacon and the strip of asphalt as your markers, and you want to kind of brake in between those two. Yeah, and that point is basically your braking and your turning point for T6. And for T9 is pretty much the exact same thing. So basically from the starting point of our billboard to the starting point of our turn. Those are going to be our two markers, and in the middle of that is going to be our turning point. And instead of braking, we're just going to release the throttle for maybe 0.5 seconds, and then we get back on the throttle immediately. So you want to brake about 20 or 30 meters just before the 100-meter marker, and come down into 3rd gear. Try and get onto that curb as much as possible. Shift down into 2nd for the extra rotation, and then back in 3rd for the grip, and accelerate directly so that you can get a perfect exit speed. For the 2nd chicane, it's the exact same thing. So we brake in about 20 or 30 meters after the 100-meter marker, turning in slightly, driving again over the curbs in 3rd gear, switching down to 2nd to get that extra rotation, and straight back up into 3rd and directly back on the accelerator to get that perfect exit again. Now coming up to the hairpin, we want to kind of brake just before the bend starts turning, right over there. And we're going to try and engine brake, and like really heavily, all the way down to gear 1, right over that curb, directly back on gear 2 and accelerate. So on this corner over here, we're going to brake right at the end of this curb here, and also let go of the accelerator all the way down to 3rd gear, and as soon as you end of the 2nd curb, you switch down to 2nd for the rotation and back up to 3rd before you accelerate. So there's a black 50-meter marker board at the top left. We'll mark it right there, and that's going to be basically our brake marker. So maybe about like 10 or 20 meters, or 10 or 15 meters before that board you want to be braking. Now we're pretty much braking again down back into 1st gear to get that extra rotation, and then we shift up directly back onto 2nd to get that early acceleration and stability. Now you don't want to go too far out like I did, because that was actually a really bad mistake and you probably lost about a tenth or two there. So for this corner here, your marker is pretty much just going to be this green patch. So at the beginning of this green patch, you want to release the throttle, maybe brake a bit, dab on it. And at the end of the green patch is when you want to like start turning in lightly into the corner to prepare yourself for that good ideal racing line, and then just stamp back onto that accelerator. So our next braking point is basically going to be this white line there on the right hand side. And it's also like pretty much like a quick dab and whatnot until we had higher RPMs in our fourth gear. And we're going to take the entire corner in the fourth gear, as you see here. So between the two RMC advertising boards, right in the middle is going to be basically our turning point. Now at first you want to turn a bit more lightly into the corner, and as soon as you see the apex, then you can turn a bit more strongly. Now at the beginning of the curb right over here is pretty much your turning point, and at the beginning of that white line that we basically on is our braking point. We come into the corner in third gear, carry it out, and then shift down quickly to second, drive over that curb, and then accelerate as soon as the car is stable again after we've gone over the chicane. And that's your lap to Le Mans.